Hi, it's Will from StormTheCastle.com, and this is part 13 of the Sculpting Fantasy Miniatures tutorial. And in this part we're working on the Woman Warrior, and I'm going to be adding the head and the arms to this. So it's pretty straightforward. You should have a pretty good grasp already on how to do this. You can see I got the torso pretty much done, and the legs and whatnot, and the clothing, what little of it there is. And now I'm going to add the arms first to her, and it's pretty straightforward how you do this. And you take your sculpting putty, your sculpting epoxy, and you mix it up real good. Alright, I got my sculpting epoxy here, 2-part epoxy. I'm gonna mix it 50-50. Okay, I've got 2 portions here of my epoxy. I've got the resin and the hardener, and I like to make them. I like to get two clumps like this, so I can get them about the same size. So I know I get a 50-50 mix. And then now from there, it's just a matter of mixing those, just like that, and you keep kneading that until it's even, and you get a nice gray-colored epoxy. So I'll have about 2 hours to work that. Then, not really 2 hours. It'll start to be unworkable towards the end of those 2 hours, but 2 hours it'll be plenty of time for me to do both the arms and the head, and that'll be the end of this section of the tutorial, this part of the tutorial. And in the next part of the tutorial, we'll move on to do the finishing work, and probably one more part after that is the painting of it, although I won't go over that in real detail. I have a complete tutorial on how to paint fantasy miniatures. Oh, we still do have to do the swords for her, so that may be a section all unto itself. I don't know. About here, let's do her upper arm, and this is going to be a little too much. Her upper arm and his shoulder, and I'll stretch that right out. Get a sense for the musculature here. See, early on in the stage here is when you've just mixed it, it's going to be really sticky. But in 10-15 minutes, it's going to start to get a nice texture where it's not very sticky, but it's still very pliable. And you'll notice that. You'll notice how the epoxy here transforms itself over the course of the 2 hours while it's setting itself. You'll notice that, and you'll see how there's a optimal working time where it's really nice to work on. I've started to do the shoulder. Now I'm going to work my way into the biceps, into a bicep. So when you're just doing the arms and the head, 2 hours should be plenty of time to get that, and that's one of the nice things about this. You know, you do it in stages and you take your time. You be patient with it. And okay, I've got one arm there that's pretty good. It's in pretty good shape. It's almost done. And now I'm working on the other arm, and I wanted to show you a technique. See how thin it is? Of course, that's got to be built up. So I take very small pieces of the epoxy putty there and add them, and that will build it up. See it like that? You can do them any way. You can do them vertical. You can do them horizontal. Just bulk it up little by little. Mix it together good so it becomes one piece, and then sculpt it some more. And I'll push that around. And of course, one important thing is when you're doing the arms like this, to make them even, you know, the shoulders should be about the same size, and the biceps and the length of the arms, it's very important. If the lengths aren't the same, it won't look right. So as you're doing your second arm, you know, compare it very closely to your first arm, so your miniature's figure looks very balanced. But there we go. See, I've got that bulked out. Now I can work on that. I can add, I can start to shape that. It's almost the right bulk. I've almost got the right amount on there. See it? So now I can start to shape that, and I'll use a variety of tools. I'll use my fingers, and I'll use my little palette tool here, which I like. And see, it's been 15 to 20 minutes now. I've been tinkering with this. And you can see that the epoxy there is starting to form without sticking. See, I can start to form that without it sticking to the tool so much. And as it starts to set over its 2-hour life cycle there, it'll be more and more like that. It will stick to you and your tool and your fingers less, yet still remain the ability to shape it. And you schedule your time, how you're doing it accordingly. You do your basic major shapes at first, and as it starts to take the tool really well, then you start to move into your details. So that's a matter of practice. And if you buy this Procreate, which is my favorite, you get actually quite a bit of it. Even though it's only 2 small bars, you actually can do quite a bit with it. You can get a lot of miniatures out of it and get a lot of practice. And don't hesitate to practice. You don't have to make a great miniature every time. As a matter of fact, you probably won't. Practice with it and try to get shapes. Get a feel for 3 dimensions and how you're building it into a figure. Okay, this figure's starting to take shape here, the arms, and I wanted to show you that I switched to a finer tool here, and that's part of the process. You just get the detail further and further and sharper and smaller and smaller, and you see I've shifted to this very sharp pick here. It's a dental pick, and I have several different types that I can use, so all kinds of different curves and whatnot, and this way I can start to mold the finer details. And this is starting to come along nicely. Okay, I'm just about done with the arms, and now I'm going to be doing the head, and I wanted to show you that this is something you need to think about, is the head isn't just placed on there. There is a neck. I mean, that seems obvious at first, but sometimes the instinct is to make a head and then put it on there, when actually you should put a little bit of putty or clay on there for the neck, like this. See? It's starting to take shape now. Okay, I don't know how well you can see that, but I'm going to show you how I do the face here. First I use the little knife here, and I do indentations and just press the face in, and that creates the hairline all the way around. You press that in, so what you're doing is you're pressing the face in. Like this was a full circle, just a globe of clay or epoxy, and then you press it in like this, causing the face line. That's actually the hair. And then what I did is I used this knife here like this to do both the eye sockets. So you do an eye socket here. This is the hollow that the eye rests in. And then you do another one here on this side. And then once you've got that done, use a smaller one to do the actual eye in here like this. See it? I don't know if you can see that. Then you do the actual eye. So you do the eye sockets, and when you're doing the eye sockets, it causes the nose to form. And then you do the actual eye. And here's the mouth, now the mouth. And it's as simple as that. So, using some kind of a flat blade, you form the hair by pressing it on the face. You form your hairline. And then you form an eye socket like this, and then an eye socket like this, and then touch it up by forming the nose. And then you use a smaller tool to form the actual eye. So, and that's just about it. So that's just about it. I'm just about done with this tutorial. You get pretty much with this installment of the tutorial. So that's about the end of 13. Now I still get a little bit more detail work to do there. I still want those arms a little bit better. And I'm going to work on a hair and a face some more. But you get the idea of what I'm doing there. So in the next part of the tutorial, I'll do the swords. I'm going to put some little armbands on her, similar to this. And I'll do a little bit of detail work, and it'll be done, and then I'll be ready to paint it. So stay tuned for the next tutorial.